Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege and pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to the Banking CISO Roundtable presented by Checkpoint in association with PwC, organized by Acquaint Media Works. Well, I am Aarti, your host for this evening. Before we begin, I request all of you to make yourself comfortable and kindly put down your mobile phones on silent mode. Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Ajit Pillai, Director Sales, Checkpoint Software Technologies, to share his viewpoint on turnaround and transformation in cybersecurity financial services.
Okay. So good evening. My name is Ajit Pillai, and I am Director Sales for Indian SAG for Checkpoint Technologies. A quick introduction about myself. Been a security industry veteran, um, leading teams in Trend Micro, McAfee, and the last assignment. And in between, I was in a couple of startups as well, like Nixon and Positive Technologies. That's where Vishal we met, and currently I write the business for Checkpoint. So let me quickly give you a quick brief, and I don't want to give any product presentation. I just want to set the stage for our discussion, and that's the intent. Okay. Want to talk about advanced threat prevention, which happens in the disruptive area. Some light notes. Our children toys and play area when we were children, right? We used to play with the nature. And 2025, this is what it's going to be. And when I say it's going to be that, what it means is children go to the play area and they will be using some kind of device or the other. They're going to tell their mom that I'm playing outside but with some kind of a device. So what it means is we drift along but can't control evolution, and that's what it means. Today we'll be talking about the different, things what we do in the banking industry later. So I want to just set the stage. There are three things which is actually creating a lot of impact in our industry or in our own lives. And we all know this Internet of Things, IoT has been talked, mobile and cloud, or mobile cloud, whatever. And also we talk about big data. These are the three things which is disrupting. And let's take a look. When this disruptive technologies are there have been a lot of leaks which have been happening. So I just wanted to put in perspective here. This is one of these hackers which compromise US security database, which many of the vendors and professionals will be talking about. And this is something which everyone knows. Now what has happened is there are two different incidents which happened, and this has been linked by the dark world and put people to ransom. That's a point which we need to note. And because of that, a White House hacker, took a lot of White House people. So it's not about hacking something and trying to extract. It's about having information and trying to relate different scenarios and putting the industry to test. So we all know that the dark world is much more organized, much more with an intent than the white world, and we need to collaborate more for that. In a couple of symposiums, I did mention about this, so no one is immune. We all know this. So it's not easy to be a CISO anymore. It used to be like more of a compliance till maybe 5 or 6 years before. It's no longer easy to be. Let's look at what we have today. And why is this a CISO's job is not easy? The traditional approach. This is what we all do. We look at virus, there was antivirus. We look at malicious websites, there was URL filtering, attacks, IPS, botnets, high-risk applications, and application control. And that's what today we are all using. Now, how to bridge the gap? This is something which the market is looking at, and this is also Checkpoint is one of the first people in the industry to advocate SDP and trying to push in management control and enforcement points in their architecture in their implementation, in their solution. So what is the strategy for CXO today? The CIO today, whomever I meet, they keep saying that we need to move into the cloud. Is security a big concern? What can you guys do to address security as far as the cloud goes? So I just summed it up here. Basically, these are the discussion points which I keep having, like consolidation of various technologies. Many of the banks have started doing that. You know, one of the major banks was saying that we have around about 48 vendors who is taking care of our security. But it's not the bank's job to take care of those 48 vendors. You know, it's the vendor's job to take care of security of the bank. So consolidation is something which is happening. Automation. How much can you automate? That's the other discussion which we have been having everywhere. Intelligence. What kind of intelligence feeds are you been giving? Is your intelligence enough? You need to have more intelligence. What is the area which you are doing so as to ensure our local intelligence increases? If you're a bank, I'm like a banking customer would always like to hear what's happening in the banking fraternity. He will not like to hear what's happening in the manufacturing side. But at the same time, what is the correlation you as a vendor are trying to do as far as this intelligence goes? The last but least is collaboration. Security is not just one person's job. It's all both sides, right? We need to collaborate. We need to exchange information. We need to actually ensure that the collaborated effort actually takes forward. So I'll come back to this. This is a pretty good takeaway slide for today. There are so many areas which we have identified: endpoint, identity, your north-south, you know, as well as the east-west, basically your virtual environment, your mobile cloud, IoT, transaction monitoring, adaptive security, and your SOC is actually now turning to I would call it as an intelligence center. Now it's no longer like you have a SIM. You have to orchestrate everything to work together, and that is where today our industry is. A SIM solution has been put in. How is that all the silo technologies of security is getting integrated to SIM, and MRTI is something which people have been, that's a wish list. Even in the SIM implementation, we have so many gaps, which we'll discuss during our discussions as we go. There's also one thing which I want to put in perspective is the intelligence marketplace. This is also growing. You've got so many vendors who are actually trying, look at most of them are just, you know, TrustWave is known, and there are so many other guys like RSA, Symantec, trying to actually get this threat intelligence feed into the SIM or into any of the products and make it more robust. That's also a trend which we see. This is what our thought process is. What we say is we have so many, you know, non-linear objectives, and the market has taken the linear actions for it, and we have seen that. We have moved from a firewall to a VPN to IPS to WAF, and today we are talking about anti-APT. Now it's like human. When you find a problem, we want to just eliminate the problem. But the non-linear things, you actually see it's from availability to fraud detection. These are the challenges the customers are, you know, we being in the banking fraternity undergo, right? We strongly believe in linear actions. We find a problem, we just want to take it off. But there are a lot of non-linear objectives which has been there, and that's how the threat landscape is going. So what's Checkpoint doing all about it? This is what is the kind of scenario currently. We are staying one step ahead. Now, what do you mean by one step ahead? The writing is on the wall. It happens everywhere. Everyone is undergoing this. You got malwares. You got so many things. Look at the dark world. It's more organized, trying to ensure that the modern threats are not like what it was. We all know that. It's strategic. It's persistent. Attacks are more dangerous than ever, and that's what the industry calls as advanced APT. You know, that's where people talk. So in one of the forums, I think a couple of them were there, where we were trying to break the myth of what APT is all about. And what I would say is at the end of it, it's not about, I was just talking to Vishal and saying, APT is no longer just a product, it's a strategy. It's a strategy how your organization is going to get prepared to tackle the unknown unknowns. What is that you're doing? It's not about buying A, B, C solution, it's about your preparedness. And simple protections are failing. So let's go a little bit deeper into what the victims think, right? The victims, he's an innocent person. He just gets an email. He just opens it, and a person by name of Raymond is unsuspectingly opening the attached file. It's just like any one of them. What happens? Within seconds, it gets infected, Bitcoin has been put, and people start asking you, right? This is what we call as ransomware, which we even discuss. Pay a ransom. The security director or a CISO looks at it and say, why should I pay money for someone who has done it? I will restore it from backup. What happens? It's fully operational. Your ops team comes back and tells you, restore it from backup, re-image Raymond's computer, use backup repositories to restore. And he goes back and sees his backup is broken and restore fails. 7 months of business data was lost. A simple example, which I have taken. It's getting more and more sophisticated, and it's becoming tougher for us to actually handle this. So what do? Take a step behind, go and see what is the attacker's thought process. What is his perspective? How do they plan and execute a cyber attack? So it's a quick, sort of thought process which I want to just throw in here so that we could discuss it more. When you really look at it, how they plan and execute a cyber attack, weeks in advance. Getting in is within seconds. Normally, there's kind of a mindset saying that getting in is the toughest. But planning the attack, we divide into 3 different areas, what we call as reconnaissance, weaponization, and delivery. And how we protect it, we will even talk about it. Getting in is like an exploitation. We are only looking at vulnerabilities, and how do you fix that? How are you automating it? All this, there is a process which is there. And carrying out an attack. And when they carry out an attack, your CNC is established, and you are actually taking control of what has been there. So go back to the cyber kill chain, and you just see the different areas. These are those 7 areas which has been divided. Reconnaissance is nothing but people in the military, they know that preparedness for a war. How do you, being slavey, trying to understand the landscape of where you want to attack and how you are preparing for it. And then you have, what are the weapons? You need to do it. And that's exactly what a cyber, I won't call it a cyber warfare. It's more like a cyber attack which has been prepared. Then comes delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and act on objectives. Every cyber attack will have this kind of a phenomenon. Just look at this ransomware. Now, this has also been divided into the same 7 areas which I talked about. And what happens is the victim's computer or data is taken control by the command and center. So some kill chains take hours, some take even years, some take, there could be programs which has been sitting there which you are not aware even today, till the time some action happens and something has been intimated. Look at the target attack. We are all part of the security fraternity. We know that this was one of the biggest things which most of the customers and vendors are talking about. It's got multiple phases. It's not very simple. It's complex. So what's your preparedness for ensuring that this kill chain stages moves laterally, and how is it going to spread? You're not sure. Where is it going? What is the objective? The bottom line is timing is everything. If something happens, ensure that do not wait for it. The longer the attack gets undetected, the more it's going to take time for you to contain it. So these are how the industry is battling against it. The longer, and it's high time. We need to break this. And it's not like one man's job or Checkpoint standing here and trying to say that we are going to break it, but it's a kind of a collaborative effort which we need to do. What do? Simple. Avoid it if you can. Make every effort to prevent it. Detect and contain it as soon as possible. The last is what, as part of the fraternity, we need to actually have a strategy so as to ensure we need to detect early and contain it. We'll just talk a little bit more. What is the successful defense strategy? Apply protection for each of the stages. It's been divided into 3, pre-compromise stage, compromise stage, and post-compromise stage. Every attack gets into these 3 different stages. Now, at each of the stages, you need to put protection, then prevent defense. See, pre-compromise is like known attacks, or the industry is actually doing it. You already put your IPS firewall, et cetera, for that. And the compromise can also be tackled. Post-compromise is where you have something that's called as forensics, which is important. Then preventing known attacks is one, and preventing unknown attacks. Today, when you talk about APT, it's all about preventing those unknown attacks which you do not know. Again, I come back and say it's all about preparedness. How do you prepare yourself? So what's Check Point Successful Defense? What we do is we have various technologies, and today the industry perceives Check Point as a firewall vendor, but we have moved much more. But look at the pre-compromise stage. We have various solutions which could actually take care of it. In the reconnaissance stage, the weaponization or the delivery, we are trying to protect. We are not just trying to just sense it and tell that there is an attack for you. We want to protect, and our business is protection. Compromise, exploitation. We've got various products which actually take care of those like IPS and endpoints, the NGFW. Many things have been added into it. Then comes the post-compromise, both at the endpoint as well as at the gateway. So winning technology at every step, and we also have the best intelligence, best detection, and best prevention. This has all been in all our products, what we give, in a single unified platform. So I know a lot of industry peers today are struggling to get their platform in place and trying to figure out how can I control the whole thing from one single console. It's like a big technology dream. Every vendor, including the biggest of the biggest, they acquire companies trying to integrate, but end of the day, even SIM proliferation started like that because it's the pain point where people